Are you feeling systematically bombarded with information? And at the same time, are you also feeling that life is kind of lifeless in a way? And that, well, technically, everything that you're doing seems to never bring you any sort of fulfillment or the such. Now, don't look any further. The point is, both of these actually have a very great link. Now, compared to what I've heard from previous generations, when they would go to school, their school was much more systematic, okay? It was much more structured in the sense that they would learn usually a bit less, I could say, than what me and the future generations seem to be going through at school. And it seems that at certain times it's like the schooling system decides that, well, children should learn even more and even more and even more. I find this kind of useless in a way because, well, nowadays the only thing that you should teach a person is to learn how to learn, right? Because everything that you teach nowadays at school, it's kind of elementary, entry level. And this can easily be found on the internet. Well, if you want more specialized information, you can pay some, certain sources. There are online libraries that you can find books and sources at, even scientific ones, and you can find mostly what you can need. And of course, the problem nowadays that I'm seeing, and especially compared to the communist period, the point is there's little to no practice. And children are supposed to enter a society where people are, the corporatist world usually asks of you to have a lot of experience. But the question is, where the heck do you get the experience if the only thing that society teaches you is, well, apart from never being good enough, is that, well, guess what? You're only gonna learn certain things, but there is no practice. So you technically can't join any, aspect of work because you have little to no experience. And right, everyone makes corporate worlds look as if it's the great truth, it's the greatest thing to do, it's the best way to work your life. Now, I'm highly against corporations. Well, not, I can't say highly against or against, but I usually frown down upon them because corporatism is kind of exploitation of the masses. And, well, in a society where no one cares about themselves, and obviously this shapes the whole society, because if you don't care about yourselves, no one else will. And when you generalize this, you have kind of the whole population doesn't care one about the others. And obviously, the societal aspect, or let's say the political layer of it, will always be represented by people of the population. Because some people from the population end up as being the rulers. And when you have ignorant people, of course, you will have ignorant rulers, which is kind of a downside because the problem is the only reason politics exists is because people are running away from their own responsibilities and are always expecting the president and the government and the authorities to actually do their own work, while probably most likely skipping the fact and even running away from the reality that these forces of so-called society wouldn't even move a finger to actually help them. Now, the problem is most people don't teach people, and especially children, that there is no one actually here or there or everywhere you would want to save you. There is no one to save you. You can only save your own self. Well, technically, you should save who you are, not yourself, because as I've been saying in previous videos, the self is just an accumulation. It is just something that you create throughout time based on the information that you have gathered. And impressions, opinions, emotions regarding certain things, right? So the point is, you can't have an opinion, let's say, or you can't have a stance or whatever you want, right? You can't have an emotion towards something that doesn't exist, right? You wouldn't have an emotion, let's say, towards Undertale or anything that's, kind of well known or at least known to you if it didn't exist. So the point about this is, nowadays children are bombarded literally with so much information. If you look at children, they are becoming brighter and brighter by the new generation, even if the generation of parents, usually in terms of the masses, most of them are still, ignorant. They are running away from their responsibilities, and they just hide in that shell in which, working your ass for society is the best thing to do. They will even fight for that because they hate change. When you run away from responsibilities, of course, you will hate change because you want to live a picture life. That's how I call it. You portray yourself the best life, and it's like you put let's say, yes, a picture in a hanger, right? You put it on the wall, and, well, you hang it on the wall, and you just want to watch it, and you don't want to distract yourself from that, and you just want to watch it and watch it and watch it, which of course will bring a lot of suffering because, well, change is the only constant. With children becoming brighter and brighter, the problem is the older generations will want them to be as dumb because, well, many people of the older generations kind of, well, embrace ignorance because it's been the way for thousands of years. We cannot simply blame them, but again, it doesn't mean that if you were taught in a certain way, you shouldn't strive for something better, because ultimately, it's all about how much you bring into the others. Why? Because, well, mortality is one of the first things that children should be taught. You're not going to live life forever. And in ignorance, people believe, the greatest problem of life. They believe they have time. Just like Buddha said, the greatest problem with people is they believe they have time. Now, when people would realize, okay, not logically, no, because, well, that's the problem. Logic is limited. Realization is far more powerful because realization goes beyond the mind. When you are suddenly woken up by someone, right, and they ask you how much is 2 plus 2, you may still require some time to tell them, hey, it's actually 4, because when you are woken up, it still takes a while for your mind, well, actually for your awareness to get back in contact with your mind. It's like the mind is booting up. And of course, the computer, again, which is booting up, it's not available from the beginning. It's the same with the mind. But once you realize something, even if you are woken up, it's there somewhere beyond the mind. And even if you are woken up, especially if you're working towards that, it doesn't matter how deep your sleep is. Usually you remember it much faster. Because again, when you're woken up, there is still kind of a delay. You can't always speak at the same time you're woken up. And yes. Now, the point is, with this systematic bombardment of information, children seem to know, like, even when I was young, I would know so many things. I was kind of very interested in astronomy and in different civilizations like Egypt, China, Japan. Much later, I got a interest towards, Nordic culture and the such. But you see, that is kind of the point. I knew so many things, and my grandmother would teach me, some simple math facts because, I don't know, that was her passion. And my mother taught me English since I was 3. So the point is, as a child, you get to learn so much, and technically your whole life is a slave life. You have to do, since birth, you have to do what everyone else is doing, and you have to do what everyone else is saying. Because technically you're the weak one and they have the whole control. This type of parenting has to diminish because it's having a toll on the further generations. The problem is when people end up stuck in this opinion that, well, there is nothing about life other than learning stuff and, doing whatever other people's bidding demands, right? When they simply want you, you must do it, then, you have to do like a part of your life what your parents demand, and you have to go to school, you have to abide to other people's demands, then you also have to abide to societal rules. That's, like the mass of ignorance always, bow down and cede all their power to, because they expect others to do their stuff. They wouldn't move a finger to make someone else's life better. And then when you go to work, it's kind of the same thing. You have to abide to other people's needs. And, well, when you work, you are technically helping other people achieve their dream. Now, working, of course, ain't a bad thing because you still need the money if you want to do something. And, of course, I'd probably speak a bit too much into the future when it comes to, banning money because, well, people should start realizing that we no longer need to be slaves of, currency. Yes, I understand spiritual, new age spiritualists are saying things, but I simply cannot trust them because they are thinking too mentally, and you can't tell me that being mental is about spirituality because the mind and spirituality are two completely opposite things. They are two completely different things. They have no tangency. What is spiritual is beyond the physical, and the mind is physical, and the mind is only, represented by this physical body. Only what is beyond this body is, can be called spiritual. So the mind and spirituality don't have any point of view. Worse than that, many people imagine a lot of things, they see them as logical, and then they portray them to others, and most likely they even get money of courses that kind of misguide people. Because the need for survival is so strong in people. If you keep people poor and whatever they're doing is, well, never gonna pull them away from their survival, they're still gonna live life as animals. They're not gonna do anything better. And this is a very powerful strategy of manipulation. It's called learn hopelessness. When you see that, the situation is hopeless, you will simply comply and you won't do anything because you kind of know the outcome will be the same irrespective of what you're doing. And this is what society is also doing with coronavirus. Like even in my country, people started rebelling, started doing things, and well, they said, well, you can't leave houses before until, well, actually, let's say after 8 in the evening. And in places where they lie that they are more infected by the cunt virus, you can't leave your home after 6 p.m. Well, of course, unless you have a paper to justify why you're leaving, because, people are so dumb. I mean, if you have a paper, then the virus can't simply affect you. And, it's like up till now, for so long, people would believe that this virus is, floating in the air, but, well, just leave it, okay? People who are ignorant, they wouldn't simply do anything to learn towards their own improvement because, well, ignorant people are always a lost case. Almost always a lost case. But when you have to deal with ignorant people, just let them be there because ignorant people are also the ones who suffer the most. The problem is, if you deal with those, you're also drowning yourself in their own misery, and I guess you as a person also have enough of your own drama, and most of it doesn't belong to you anyways. So a lot of information is being given, and this information kind of doesn't serve anything. Well, it actually has a very powerful role in what manipulation is concerned, because power is considered knowledge, right? Knowledge is power, so it is a part of being a strong person, right? But when you say strong person, right, you say a strong persona, right? The personality, which means a mask which you put on your face, but you can't put it out because you have identified with that. So you're like an actor who pretends to be someone, but you can no longer dissociate yourself from that someone. Because technically, as I've been saying in previous videos, you are nothing. You come here, you don't know anything, you have no emotion, you have literally no opinion, and you gather all of these in time. They all come from external sources, from creation, from other people, from your friends. Kind of That's it. Most of it doesn't even belong to you. Like 80-90% of those don't even belong to you. So, as this is said, all the information gives people the sensation that you're strong, so many things. And I see people fighting on forums that certain planets have a certain specific diameter, and no, the diameter is this, no, the diameter is that. Why do you worry about other planets? Do you think they worry about you? Do you think those planets will be worse if you don't care about them? I mean, they've lived for billions of years. They will be here for several more billions. It doesn't matter how much you fuss about it. All that's important with knowledge is the more knowledge you have, the more you feed your mind with. And as I've said in previous videos, the mind only feeds those with comfort, right? Who feed it the most. You feel comfortable in your mind when you have so many things to distract you, like the drama in your own life. thinking that, how this will gonna happen, how that will gonna happen, and in most situations they don't even happen that, worse way that you're thinking of. Usually it happens much better. At times it can go even worse, yes, but the more you think about something, what's the point? You're thinking about something that hasn't happened. And when you think about things that have happened, again, you're not living in the present. So again, you're just living in the drama. Let's call it the drama theater. Because it is kind of a theater. After all, the only reason why people fuss about things that will happen or have happened is that they want some comforting from other people, they want some attention, but they might actually end up as being vampiric. They might actually, most of them, many people actually end up as being needy. They want attention, they crave it, and well, this becomes highly problematic because, well, when you have to deal with so many of these people, everything they tell you is basically they want your attention. It's not that they share some ideas, they share some bad situation that happened, and they expect, or well, they ask for your opinion. No, they kind of expect something, which is kind of bad. And the more knowledge that you put into your mind, you're basically feeding certain layers of your mind, each of these layers more capable than the other to simply screw you around. The superpower of the mind is to simply show you things. Anything that it can show you, it can instantly convince you that those are real. That is why if you let your imagination, wander around, every idea that comes to your mind makes you feel as if you're some kind of messiah or some kind of, person connected with God, and you're basically superior to others. Because combine this with ignorance, means being already superior to ours. It is separation. You are too good for the others, but at the same time you suffer because you are separated. You are a social being, and this will always pull you down. You have to speak with people. So that is why these ignorance become always vampiric. And many people breed just because society says it, right? The subliminal messaging, breeds, never question authority, never doubt, orders, politics, and the such. Just watch TV, don't do anything, don't use your discernment, because the discernment is the greatest enemy of society. If you can think for yourself, if you have patience to think for yourself, it means you have patience for your own self. So that's a nightmare to people who love using manipulation. Because if you look carefully at how things and salesmanship goes, you can think of most of those salespeople who just come to your house and they're like, they just tell you their poem. All they tell you is benefits, and they drown you in details and the such. The whole point is to bore you that much that you simply don't care, and you either tell them a no or you simply tell them a yes. Think about how many times those people are simply rejected. They definitely want attention, so most of those actually end up as, vampires, because they get pushed back so many times, and well, their bosses tell them smile and dial, right? And it kind of sucks in a way because, well, low self-esteem, so they become vampiric. And whole society only works on drawing your attention. If you can see, ignorance have no patience, because that's the definition of, one of the definitions of ignorance. You have no patience, you work only impulsively, you want things. And of course, everything must be a distraction, because in ignorance you must run away from your salvation. You're running away from who you truly are, and you're running away from the responsibility of finding that out. And of course, the responsibilities of making the world a better one for your, well, future generations. Irrespective of the fact that you will have a child or not. Because let's face it, in these times, I wouldn't go towards, having children. Like, what's the point of giving birth to a child in these, crazy world, in these crazy times where, you never know what may happen. So this information goes very bad because it feeds people's egos. They feel that now they know everything, especially through the news, which are the most devious ways of, giving you what other people want you to know, not necessarily the truth. And many people fall easily for science. Science I see as the second Bible. You either believe it or, you're a disbeliever, right? Nowadays, if you say something about the Kant virus, you're a covidiot. You're a constipational theorist. And of course, this term was built and supported by people who maintain manipulation, because if you want to deceive other people, of course you can't accept the truth. And of course, the truth will always be like a ball. You can't drown it and keep it underwater for too long because, well, you will get tired and you will drop the ball and it will float to the surface. And, well, guess what? It will probably smack you in the face. So the problem is, well, too much information feeds people's egos. They feel that they are prepared for literally everything. But when you have science that is dominated by governments and corporations that pay scientists, and many of the scientists that know things and use discernment are simply banned or they're not allowed to speak stuff, and only those who sell their souls, themselves, their parents, their whatever for some little bits of paper that have no meaning other than the meaning we have collectively agreed upon, because that's what money is. And when this happens, it's like, how the fuck can I simply worry about science? Like, sure, physics is kind of the only science that the one that's only applied to this planet. Okay, you simply cannot doubt most of those because they have been scientifically proven, and you simply cannot change that. Okay, chemistry to a certain extent, but when it comes to things beyond the planet, why do people even worry about that? Because we're making a mess out of this planet, and billionaires are already thinking about leaving this planet. You can see how much they care for you, because if they want to go for other planets, that's how much responsibility they take for your well-being, for the well-being of the others. They want to escape this planet because they know this planet has been laid waste upon, and, well, they simply don't care about you. So why should you care about society? The point is, you should actually make all the efforts possible, build yourself YouTube channels, help people wake up. That's how things work. Because all the knowledge that you get, ultimately it is useless because it is only a distraction from who you are. And, of course, it is also draining you of information. It's actually draining you of your energy, not information. But energy is also information, so yes. Because people who can read auras and, who can read you from afar, well, they can actually use that to a certain extent against you. But, well, let's not dive into this because people are afraid of these, occult societies specifically spying upon them. It's not enough that you have Big Brother lurking around. It's, well, this thing as well. So the more people may know, the more people they may freak about, because ultimately it's all about fear. And of course 5G is a very good propellant of fear because, well, it kind of blocks you under the root chakra. It kind of doesn't allow you to go beyond that, beyond the basic necessities. And the problem is you also have pornography, you also have, sexualization, and these also keep you at the lower level, at the first level of existence, which is the primal level of being, sexuality, but impulsive sexuality. It is the need to breed, the need to survive, and, well, that's not good for the masses. So all this being said, yes, it's not necessarily good that we have too much information because it's always going to be used as a distraction. People will rehearse through that just to use it as a distraction and run away from responsibilities of making their life better. People will even fight for that. But when you are willing to die for that information, because once you identify yourself with some information, your intellect, a part of you which supports literally everything that you believe and accept, will be willing to defend those, fanatically. And once it does, the problem is you are willing to even die for those bits of information. That's what a supporter technically means. That's what a fanatic means. When you say I'm a fanatic, right? I'm your best fan. Well, fan means fanatic. And fanatic means you will even die for that. Which is very bad because if you're willing to die for something, you're also willing to kill. They're both synonyms. So, you see, so many people are just poisoned with information. And ultimately, it doesn't serve them any goal. It doesn't serve them anything. They know so many things. Children know so many things from the beginning. But ultimately, where's the point? There is no emotional investment in that. It's just that computerized information. It's not bad knowing it, yes, but it's not like it's gonna actually help you much. It's not that it's gonna make your life better, because ultimately school doesn't teach you how to survive in nature, how to, get acquainted with your constitution if we still prefer living in countries. And all this being said, well, let's actually say that all this being said, you are appreciated. Take care of yourselves, and well, see you in other videos. Ferencan Board signing out.